All right. Welcome, folks, to the first session of Tiny Talks by presented to you by Rocket Alums. And the theme is super simple. We want to talk about what really goes on in the industry. So, making projects, looking at things from an outside perspective is fun. But when you actually start working in a real world situation, real world project on a production thing, the the learnings you get there when you're working under constraints is very different. So yeah, that's the whole aim of the series. Just we don't want to have like long talks, like 30 minutes or so. We're just keeping it under 10 minutes. I see some of you in the chat joining from Chennai. Very nice. So we have Kushank here. He is joining from Bangalore, and he says it's about to rain there, which is like
Mhm.
every day. Um, all
Yeah,
right, over to you, Kushank. Yeah, let me
yeah.
spotlight you.
So hey everyone, thank you for joining on Sunday afternoon once again. And I work at Unacademy, and you all know me, so I remember a lot of names, Manish, Rishi. So thanks everyone for joining. So the flow will be very simple. I will be explaining the problem, then the solution, then I will code it out, but I will not code the entire thing. It will be like I have the code snippets ready. I will just plug the snippets so that we will get the entire flow working. And then finally, we will be seeing the entire working flow of the solution. And also I will show you how we do it in the Unacademy website. So that's all. Let me start the screen share. Okay. Let me know if my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Do turn on your videos if you are comfortable with that. Otherwise, no issues. Okay. So right now, I have a quiz app. You might all of you have built a lot of apps, right? So this is a similar app built on Merge Stack. Okay. And I will open the same app in, let's say, another window or another browser, another device, whatever, right? So basically, in order to start the quiz, you have to log in. So let's say that I log in on one device, and the quiz is started, right? I can proceed and I can do all the functions, right? Now I log in another window with the same user account. Okay. And here also I'm able to take the same quiz. So if I take the same quiz and I proceed further, there is no restriction here, right? I can take the same quiz from parallel devices, same devices with multiple windows. And what happens here really is, if you can think of the the DB, right, the database, the CRUD operations. So let's say that this is our first app, first window, this is second window or device, this is third window or device, right? Whenever we make some query to the DB, first time this user makes a query to the DB, but at the same time, this user is also making the query to the DB. And since both users are same, we are actually overwriting our DB operations. So we end up in a very unpredictable situation that what's going to happen, what will be saved in DB, and how are we going to manage multiple users, right? And generally, you don't want this. In most of the cases, you don't want this. You want to have some sort of limit, some sort of uh, restriction that what user can do. If user can log in, that's fine, but they can't take the same quiz in multiple devices at the same time. So this is the issue that we have right now. Okay. And let's think about a solution of this issue. So so what we want from the solution? We want the solution to be able to, constrain the logins, whether we can constrain it to one device, two device, or we can have it like we can have it backend configured. So let's say that I can constrain it to two devices, and if need be in future, I will just increase that two to three, and I will be able to log in three devices, right? So I want it to be able to be configured from backend. Also, I want the second user. Let's say that my constraint is two devices. Okay, so first user logs in, then second user logs in, then third user logs in. So the third user should have the access to basically log out any of the previous users. Okay, so this happens in Netflix also. So if you are logged in from a new device, right? If you're already logged in from last four devices, you can log out any of them, or you can go into your settings and end the session, right? So this also we want, being able to log out any of the users that are currently logged in previously. Okay, now the main point here is that what we can do is, using WebSockets, we can actually create a room based on the user's email. And let's say that user one logs in, we log them into, we put them into a room. User second logs in, we put them into the same room. And since we are putting them in the same room, we have the size of the room that we have. So in WebSockets, basically, you get the size of the room, right? So let's say that size of the room is 2, and another user logs in, we add 1 to it, now it becomes 3. Now we can have a check that whether we allow the third, or we have some prompt or some other functionality for the third, right? So this is basically what we are going to do. We are going to look at the size of the room, size of room of WebSocket, and based on that uh, we can control our functionality. Okay, so um, so this is the front end, right? Front end is simple. It's on MERN stack, React, and this is our backend. Backend is just Express, nothing fancy, right? Express and Node. So I have a socket instance ready. Let me clear things up and I'll explain this. Okay. So let me close this. Yeah. So right now, this is our server and this is our first client. Okay. Now, first client has not yet logged in, but in order to initiate, we have initiated the socket. So the socket is already here. So we get the ID of the first client. Okay. Now, a good thing about Socket IO is that you get an admin access, admin panel also. So you can see actually how many users are logged in. So you can go to admin.socket.io, and you can just put in the socket server URL that you get from here in your portal, and you can see all the users that are logged in. Now, one concept in Socket IO is that every user gets into its own room, that is a private room. Now we want to create a public room. Okay, public room will be defined by the user's email ID. So basically, right now we have a socket IO connection, and on connection we are basically picking the socket ID, and we are displaying the socket ID right here. So when this client connects with our server, and server just picks the socket ID and it displays the socket ID. Now, if I do that again in another browser or incognito or another device, you can see that another device got connected, right? So basically, we are establishing multiple socket connections. Now we want to add them into a room. Okay, so the functionality that we want to write is, we want to have a listener on login event, and we want to perform some operation once a user logs in. Okay, so let's build that functionality. Okay. Um, so I have this code snippet that I wrote previously, and I'll just paste it here. So let's close it. Let's see it in abstraction. So this is our login handler. Okay. So whenever a login event emits from the client, which means that I go here and I log in, the server will listen to this login event. Okay. Now we have to do the same on client also. So, okay, I have already done that. So basically this is a simple React use effect on login. Once you are logged in, and if login is true, we emit this. Okay. I'm using the socket.io client on socket.io.client library on client and socket.io on the server. Okay. And I'm saving the socket reference in the um, ref. Okay. So basically I'm emitting the event login. Now this event is going to the server, and what are we doing here is basically we are adding the user to the room, and the room is defined by email. Now, how can we visualize this? Where can we see this? So that's where admin UI comes into play. Now, if you see right now, there are two instances connected. This is one, and this is the other one. And let's try to do it again. We have two instances connected. Mm, okay, so let's just first see it in the first instance only. What we want to do is once the user logs in, we want them to be added into the room, and the room should be defined by their email ID. Okay, so right now localhost is running. Okay, something is clicking. Let me restart the server. Okay, so as we can see right now, there is one client that has been added, and that client is in its own private room. There is no room defined by email right now. And once I log in, this should get fired, and we can actually see the events. So if I come here, so we'll see the latest event that comes up. So right now, one connection event got fired. Connection event is basically the client got initialized, and this is the connection ID. Okay, so this you can actually match. This is the same ID. Now, if I log in, and once the login is success, I get this event received event name login. Okay. Yeah. Now I need to be able to join a room. Okay. So basically, let's see if we are getting the email here. Yeah. Okay, I forgot to restart the server. So right now we are getting the email, and once the user logs in, we add the user to a public room. That room is defined by their email ID. So let's say that I log in from another device, and I use the same credential because now I'm the same user trying to log in from two different devices. Okay. So what happens is that if you see the admin, we have we have added two users to the room. Now these are the user IDs. So we have added two users to the same room. The room is defined by the user's email ID. Okay. Now let's build the other functionality. Um, okay. So let's log out from both the devices to be clear about it. Now, what do we want to do next? We want to basically handle logouts, right? We want to log the other user out if we reach a particular threshold. Now, our threshold right now is max login limit is 2. So two devices can log in at the same time, but no more than that. Okay. So we will build handle logout. Okay. So I have placed that snippet here. Let me start. Okay. So basically what we are doing here is in the logout, we pick, so this logout event, right? If you see it clearly, this is a listener. So listener will listen the event that gets fired from the client. Okay. So basically we want something like this from the client. Okay. Now, we can have that here itself. We can register an event. Okay. Uh, receive room info event. Okay. Now every time we add a new user, right, we want all of our clients to know what user, like how many users are in the room, right? So if you see in login, we have a function called broadcast room info. I have made this as a utility because we are using this at multiple places. Now, what broadcast room info is doing, it is basically taking the email. It is basically in the room. Basically, io dot in email basically means that it is going to emit this room info event in the room defined by the email. Okay, and we are sending the room. Now room is basically an array of IDs. So if you see, room is an array of IDs. These are the IDs, and this is the room defined. This is what defines the room. So what we want to do is we want to receive the room info on client side, and I have the snippet ready for it. Let me just paste it here. So right now we have a room info listener. Now, every time a client joins, we want to update our client state. It can be React, Redux state, it can be your local state, right? So let's say that I just refresh here and I log in. Now you see, we get an event from the server that this is the room info and there's one ID in the room. Now I do that again in another device. Now this room info needs to be updated. So if you go back to the previous device, you see that we got both the IDs, the ID first time we got, which was just one. Now another user joined and we get two room infos. Okay. So we know that two people are in the room. We know this both at the client side and the server side also. Now let's build the other functionality, which is to basically handle max login alert. So now we are going to build this functionality of triggering the max login modal, right? So I have a modal built on front end. It will just pop up if you breach the maximum threshold of logins. Okay. And where is that fired? If you see the login, this is the event that we are going to fire, max login alert. And this is what we are going to listen to on the client side. And we are going to basically make this show modal true. So a modal will pop up. Okay. So let's try that. So our max login limit is 2. I'll just make it 1 so that we can quickly test it. Okay. So right now one device is logged in. Again, we try to log in with another device with the same account. See, you get this alert, max device limit reached. Okay. Now there are a couple of functionalities here, which I will discuss later. But the core part is that the limit of our room is 1 that we have set using this constant. Now this user tried to breach the limit and we get this alert, right? Now these functionalities we are yet to implement. So let's quickly implement it. So what this logout will do, if you click on this logout, the previously logged in user will get logged out automatically and you will be able to continue with your quiz. Okay. So let's quickly build the rest of the functionality. What we need to do here is log out, log out. Log out the user who is trying to log in after threshold. So with this, our server side code is almost done. We just have a few things left on client. So we have this max login alert. Now we also want to have a listener. Listen to the event. Log out user. Okay. Or log out alert. So let me restart the server. So basically we have a couple of events on the server, a couple of events on the client. We have some receivers on the server. Basically all of these are receiving events. We are listening to login, we are listening to log out user, we are listening to log me out. And there are a couple of broadcasting events, which is emit events, right? So we are emitting room info, we are emitting max login alert, right? And we are also emitting logout alert, right? So these are the events that we are emitting and receiving on server. And if you see the client, we are listening to room info, we are listening to max login alert, we are listening to logout alerts, we are emitting the login. And if you go to the modal, which pops up, we are emitting the logout user event. Okay, let's now see it in action. So we are logged in on the first device. So we got the room info. Let me close this. Now we go to our second device and we try to log in with the same credential. So we get this max device limit reached because we have said the same thing here, right? So if you see max login limit, it is 1. So only one device can log in at a time. Now, if I log out this user,
Hey,
log
Kushank,
out from,
see the other screen.
can you, can't you see the?
We can see the original browser where you are
Okay, okay.
in the first time. The other screen is not visible.
Now, is it visible?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So basically, I'm trying to log in. I have set the limit as 1. I have logged in from one device and it's working perfectly fine. I can take the quiz, right? No issues here. But at the same moment, I tried to log in the another device with the same user credential. Now I get this alert log out. Now, if I click on log out, I will be logged out from this. Okay, so let's do that. So you see, I got logged out from this automatically. Now I see that no other devices is logged in. Okay, now this is very real time. So if I log in right here, you will see that, yeah, you'll see the same alert here. Now, if I try to log out from here, it will this will get log out from here. So this is how it is working right now. And let's try to do that again. We have this alert. We can do a couple of things. We can log out from this device, then no issues because that's the limit, right? One device, one limit. So we are good here, right? We can continue with whatever we are doing here. But we try to log in again from this device, we get that error again. So yeah, basically that's the entire deal about it. And you can see the same thing in the admin panel also. Right now there is one user in the room. We have set the limit as 1, so it will never go to 2. And that's how we are controlling with this variable max login limit. Now, let me see the comments. Okay, cool. So let's see the other approaches that we have. So I did this with WebSocket because I find it easy, and with Socket.io you get this admin UI, right? So you can see everything very clearly. You can see the events that are getting fired, events sent events. So it's very visual and it's very easy to get started, right? But sockets have an issue with scaling. So you can't scale it like you scale your REST APIs. So that's the issue with sockets. So you can have a couple of approaches. You can do long polling, which is you wait for the server to send an event. Your get request gets delayed, right? It keeps on, it stays in pending state unless server gets an event and it sends you back. So, and you have then event based approach. So this I will show you what it is actually. Let me log in to Unacademy. So as you can see right now, I'm logged into Unacademy, and let's we can see this also here, but we'll see that later. But if you see right now, I have logged in from one device. Now I will try to log in from another device. So I'll open an incognito. Let me know if this another device is visible. I think this is getting
Yes, this is visible.
visible, right? When I opened this new tab, it was not visible that time. I'll log in again on another device.
Okay, it is not visible now.
Okay, okay, sure. Okay. Yeah, visible now. This is one device and this is another one.
Yes.
Okay. Let me close this so that it's clear. Okay, so we have logged into an academy from two different devices. Okay, now I will try to open the same class from two devices. So let me go to today. What do we have today? We have, okay, we go to yesterday, and let's verbal ability and RC, right? So right now I have joined this class from one device. Okay, let me pause this and let me do the same thing from another device. We can just copy the entire link from here. Mm, okay, maybe because it's in the same browser, let me open Chrome. I'll share this. Okay, so you see this is visible, right? My screen is visible.
Yes.
So you see we got this. You have been logged out event, right? And if we let me refresh, maybe we can see that in the web socket itself. So right now I start a class and I am in a class. And I try to log in again from another device. So if you see, I am able to log in, right? So login is fine. There is no restriction on login here. You can log in with two devices. But the moment you go and take a live class, basically, if you take the same live class also, that is, there is also restriction there. So let's say that verbal ability NRC, this is the one, right? Okay. Yeah, for some reason it's not showing. Okay, I got logged out from this side, maybe because of that. Okay, I might not be able to show it on this part, but we saw that it shows a log out pop-up, right? It came right here in the bottom of the screen, a logout modal. So yeah, basically that's it. We do it in Unacademy. We don't restrict on logins. We restrict on live classes. So if you have two different devices with same account and you try to log in and take the live class, same live class from two different devices, you get that pop-up, and we do that with WebSocket itself. But there are more things involved. It's not exactly it's not just WebSocket. There are lots of things like events, and the WebSockets are of course behind the load balancer like an API gateway on AWS, right? So yeah, that's the approach we do it in an academy. But I showed you the similar thing with a simple WebSocket that we did here, and we saw the implementation using the rooms in the socket IO admin. So yeah, any questions? Feel free to. What if we take another class? Yeah, Sayed. So we restrict on live classes, right? So if you take another class, it will be fine as far as I know. Let me know any questions you have. Okay. Folks raise hands. Yeah, do raise your hands. Yeah. Okay, we are 21 people. So many people joined. I'll share this doc with everyone. So I have put the resources right below it. So you can check out the code if you want. We have this repository branch and also the Replit server. I can share it here also. Can you explain long polling mentioned in other solution? Yeah, so basically we don't use that now, but sure, I'll share it on Discord also. So basically, if you see the get call, right? Let me refresh. So I'll do that again. And if you see the get call, it's pending, right? It was pending for some time, 1 second, at max 2 seconds, and it got resolved and you got the data. So if you see this get call, basically, you got some data, right? And it was resolved. What happens in long polling is that server keeps this state in pending and until it gets resolved. Okay. So server keeps this state in pending, and the moment server has some event, basically let's say some other user joined and server has an event, server will push that event and server will resolve it once you have something to send to the client. Until that state, it will stay in pending. It will stay in pending as long as you want, as long as the server wants, as long as there is no new event. And once that is done, it will get resolved and you will get the data just like this. Okay. But it won't be this quick. It will have the delay of how long the server waits for the client. Okay. Akshay, is this clear? Long polling. Can you explain? Okay, that is done. So the event-based approach can be implemented with sockets. Why not? Yeah, of course it can be. Like, let's say that you have an event on front end. You have both the clients connected, added to the same room, and if this client performs an action, you save that action also on your server. And if this client tries to perform the same action, you check if this action being performed. If yes, you put a message to the second client that no, this action is already being performed, this event is already being performed, you can't perform it, either you have to log out or log in. So if you have both the clients in the same room, you can broadcast that information and you can implement it however way you want. So yeah, events can be implemented that way also. Okay, good. Any more questions, folks?
Folks, if you have a
Stop
doubt,
the share.
however small it might be, you can just raise your hands.
Just put it in the chat. I'll pick it up.
Meanwhile, I will share the feedback form in the thread in the chat so that um, just since this was a first tiny talk, I'm not sure it was so tiny anymore.
Yeah, it got delayed, yeah, a little bit.
I think maybe we'll see
Half an
how
hour.
to keep it small. The reason why I want to keep it short is so that like we have like 20 people here, right? So if it is small, then they'll turn up the next time as well. Versus if it's a long thing, then
Right.
it competes with the Netflix time basically. So yeah. Um, Folks on the call, if you want to talk any about anything that you have learned on the job, just DM me or just ping in the share channel. We'll set up the next week's talk on it. And yes, this is a community thing. Like I'm not running this. This is like Kushank is one of our OG alums from last year. So now if any one of you want to take it up the next week and the week after that, we can just keep it rolling. I sincerely hope we do that because this work learning, sharing of the learning on the job, that is something that I've not seen happen as much. So yeah, if you want, we can like continue doing this. I feel this is a good ROI. So make sure you fill the feedback form, and that is about it. I hope to see another talk happening next week. Uh, we have Kushank with some other topics as well. I don't want to put you on the spot, but yeah, yeah. I don't want
I
to.
just want to
Yeah,
express this. Folks, do check out the resources section in the doc. I will share. I have shared here also. So just you can take a look at the code, because I didn't explain the code, and that is very important. That's why just take a look at the code, and it will be much interesting. If you have ever tried Socket or anywhere, you can use this in your personal projects also. And I think, what do you think, Swapnil? This kind of implementation in a personal project will be very interesting to see.
this would be
Like
super
the,
interesting. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
will
Because
be
you can
really
see it
interesting.
happening live, right? I think
Mhm. Yeah,
that's the magic. When you showed,
right,
there was a pop-up when it showed that hey, you're already logged in from other device. You can either log yourself out on that
mm,
device or other devices as well, and that sort of happened in real time. I think that was the aha moment for most of us here. Some people shared in the chat as
okay,
well. So yeah, anything visual
right,
is super awesome. At the same time, we see it in real world projects as well, right? Netflix has uh, this feature. Implementation can be a bit different, but yeah, you can see the feature wherein you can only stream on a limited number of connected devices. Was shared to
right.
sabhi karte hain. Password, but yeah. Um,
Also, I learned this while I was preparing for this talk. I learned about Socket IO admin panel. So they have this admin panel where you can see all the events. I didn't know before it. So thanks to you, Swapnil, for pushing me to do this. I
I
really learned a lot of things, I think,
I
in
feel
past two
the
weeks.
best way to
Yeah.
solidify your understanding of anything is just to
Mhm.
sign up for something like this. And this is like a no pressure environment, right? This is not a
Right.
I don't know. This is not an official meetup talk or something wherein you have to be right or whatever. I think this is a small group. Like, of course, since this is the first time we have so many people here, I'm pretty sure with time we'll see a drop off. And once you have a small group, but people who are interested in these things, um, at the same time, it does not feel as official, so it becomes like a safe space, and you learn something. The participants learn something as well. So the code part is not important. That is what I feel. Just knowing that something like this is possible, that sort of is the core takeaway, that this is, hey, this can be implemented via such and such, and um, so that whenever you land up in such a situation, you can just, the code is always a Google searcher. You can always see, hey, how do
Right.
you do this? And at the same time, when you're working in a real world project, there will be constraints due to which you might have to modify things. But as long as you know that, hey, this might be a real world problem use case. Real world problems are always interesting to me for some reason. Like that, those are like, okay, hey, yeah, this is a problem that needs to be solved. And as long as you just know that one of the ways to solve this is this, so you just get a head start. Yes, Akshay.
Yeah. Hi, Kushank. Thanks for
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
insightful session. So I was just thinking, right now we did it in real time, right? So we could see
Mhm.
the user logged in. So what if our like problem is that, like, even if user is logged in, right? He's not
Mhm.
actively logged in. He's just logged in and he closed the window, right? And he then logs in from another device. And now it shows the pop-up that you have already logged in at some other device. It might not be really active at that time. So now when I
Okay.
want to load out from that previous device, right, how would that happen? Like, I mean, like if I clicked on log out, right, I am not
Mhm.
logged in real time. So when I again open the website in that browser or that tab, how would that
Okay.
get logged out?
Okay, so with the JSON JWT tokens, right, JWT tokens, what you have is you have this expiry, right? Or you can actually, so when you come back, right, after login, what you do is you open your website and some API gets fired to backend, right, to load some data. That API should have that access token, right, because you are logged in. You will pick that token from cookie or local storage, right?
Right, right,
That part is clear, right? So that token goes to server, it validates, and it gets back to you and you get the data back. So in that between in the server, you can actually maintain a table or a list that, okay, this token is invalid, or you can maintain a list of valid tokens. So if that token is not in the list, you just discard that user. So you will get a 401 error and you can show the error user that you have been logged out. You can do it with JSON web tokens also. So I think in Unacademy also we have this Stargate token. So the entire product is called Stargate, and we have this Stargate tokens which are separate from JOT tokens, so that we are more able to handle it more effectively. So you can do it that way also.
Right, got
Did
it.
that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to more of these knowledge sharing sessions. Just naming a few folks on the top of my head so that you get some pressure. Manish Sayed, Rishi Sanket, Purnima, Gopal, Roma. I look forward to your sessions in the coming weeks, and don't think of it as a very high pressure thing. As long as you can talk for 8 minutes, that's totally fine. You can just come. You don't need to code live, by the way. If you feel that, hey, you know, live coding is stressful, which I'm sure it is, you don't need to do that. um, from a takeaway perspective, what you're just sharing is, hey, this is a problem statement that I faced in real world. Maybe present a couple of solutions and what you ended up doing. Or even if you don't want to present options, just share. Here's the problem statement that I faced. Here is how we solved it. And yeah, I think that should be it. Even if it ends in 8 minutes, that's totally fine. All right. People who are saying, definitely make sure that you share the topic in the on Discord so that will mark you up. All right, folks, that is about it. Anyone else wants to try anything else? We'll wrap this up.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Kushank, for
Thanks
giving very
Swapnil for organizing and pushing, of course. Thank you very much. Yeah.
awesome. Cool, folks. Have a great time. Bye bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye, everyone.